Yeah. No, all right, let's move right along. Approval of minutes, I guess everybody read the minutes, there were several of them. Any comments on the meeting?
On the minutes,
On the minutes?
I appreciated the short, version of a long discussion that we had at one of those meetings.
Yeah. That's right. Good. Yeah.
But I did have one question. It doesn't, I mean, I will move to approve the minutes from, how many are we doing?
Three, wasn't it?
December 20th, January 13th and January 30th. I would move that we approve those minutes as presented.
Second. Okay, all minutes, motion's been made, moved, to approve the minutes. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Before we move on though, a customer got a hold of me and said they were looking for the recording of the meetings. And I think it was this meeting, that was only half of it was available. So I didn't know if Justin got that message.
Yeah, so I even looked into it, Renee looked into it and said, it's all there.
It's all there. Okay.
Am I correct, Renee?
Yeah, that's correct. I listened to the whole thing again today. I believe that person may have reached out to me a while back, maybe last week, I think. But that email went to my junk folder. So I went and researched and looked for it, found it, and responded to that individual. So perhaps that's the same individual, Bill, but I confirmed that the entirety of the 1:30:25 audio and video is on our website.
Thank you. Yes, that was me.
Okay, satisfied?
That was it. That was it.
All right, next thing, public comment. Do we have anybody want to enter into comment? Yes. Ms. Jones, go right ahead.
Thank you. Candace Jones, you all know, San Juan Water Conservancy District. I saw that you have the ranch subcommittee on your agenda, so just wanted to let you know that I had, after last meeting, expected that we were gonna get a call about getting the committees together. That didn't happen. I reached out by email to Jim and staff to inquire about that happening and never heard back. So that never happened, but I just wanted to let you all know that I had made that reach out. And that also heard from Kathy Weber, who continues to be interested and willing to have her cattle there to graze. You all have said this litigation is going to continue for 18 months or longer. I hope not, but certainly, and the gravel remediation is going to go in on well into the fall, and you guys have gravel out there. So Kathy's interested. She would be in consideration of letting her cows be on the ranch, do the repairs of the fence and stuff out there to maintain that. So there's some value to the districts in having her be able to do that this summer, this grazing season. And so I'd encourage you, in the interest of making productive use and taking advantage of that offer to do the work on the fences, that the districts get together and move that forward. So thank you for that consideration. And I also, in that message to Jim and staff, reiterated that we have invited the district, Conservancy District has invited you to a joint work session. Hadn't heard back about that either.
Yes,
So
we're gonna
let
wait,
you all
talk to our attorney today about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. I wanna see what you guys think here. Consideration of an executive session pursuant to CRS 246402-4B for the purpose of receiving the legal advice on specific legal questions from the district legal counsel and CRS 246-4024EI to determine positions related to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing strategies for negotiation, and instructed no negotiations, both with respect to 24 CV 369, the San Juan Water Conservation District, Conservancy District, and the current status of leases on and use of the Running Iron Ranch. Do I have a motion to do this?
I'll second.
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we'll have to ask everybody to leave because we're going into an executive session. We'll holler at you some way.
Okay.
Set up a white flag.
I don't know, for a minute.
Maybe you could go on responsible.
Or just.
No, white flag.
You know, kind of
Surrender.
little city edition, like the Pope. Yeah. Do a red one or something. Okay, we have everybody out of the way.
Now we do. Okay, who wants to take over?
I'll take over. This is Marcus.
Okay.
And first, for purposes of the record, the remainder of the executive session is going to constitute attorney-client privileged communications, and therefore any recording that's being made can be shut off unless and until you're instructed to turn it back on.
Is there a motion to go out?
I would move that we leave executive session. Second.
Okay, third in favor.
Aye.
We're out.
Oh my gosh.
We've
That was
got,
a tough one.
we've got to decide about this, cattle deal.
Rain, and that.
I mean, we got screwed. There's a virus to it.
And I'm gonna find out,
And San Juan's got screwed, just as screwed as we are.
Yeah,
I don't know if they realize that.
it's,
and the gravel royalties too.
Different back there.
that was, we were counting on, what was it? $20,000, I think, well, I remember we buying some royalties, wasn't that right?
Yeah.
$120,000, what we was gonna get in royalties. But I think that was right.
You next, Jim?
Yeah, I'll be next.
Remember that. Drinking those, seltzer waters, you know, city market brand, October brand one. I got addicted to this thing. I drink like 16 on a day.
Really?
Yeah, they're good.
Jeez.
But no sugar, it's just natural flavor, no sugar or anything in it.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, a minute.
Yeah.
We have missing 2 board members. They snuck out.
There.
They snuck out.
Ooh,
You're sneaking out to them.
Got my jump. One good jumper kid.
Thanks for your patience.
No problem.
Okay, let's go to item number 7, please.
Alex is.
Alex, we get
Alex,
started.
isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, Alex, number 7, consideration of request for modified monthly water service fees for Timberline Project Generation Housing Partners LLC. All right, you're on.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'm Chris Apple, Coast Generation Housing Partners. And again, thank you for all your help in getting this project across the finish line or into construction, actually.
Looking pretty good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We've been working on this. You know, we started looking at it in 2018. But it's taken forever to get the capital stack put together and tax credits and get the support. We're finally there. So we should have COs in July. We plan to have a big grand opening event and everyone's invited. Yeah, we're really excited. It's going to be beautiful and it's going to lease up really quick. So
You're building 50 units faster than most people build one.
yeah, we've got a great GC.
How many people do you have working on that?
How many, what's our?
People working?
You know, it varies, but at any time, probably 20 to 25 are on site. You know, I was there today, before coming to the meeting, they probably had 15 guys out there, so.
I know I can go, be gone a week and come back and thought, wow, all this.
Yeah, they're doing great. They're doing great. It's a great group. So, yeah, I'm really proud to be part of it. So the reason why we're here today, oh yeah, it'll be great. Thank you, Leslie. It just has to do with our bill, basically how it's calculated. You know, essentially, a lot of times for multifamily, we're considered commercial. So you would look at the fixtures and then calculate the EUs and then get your bill based on the EUs plus your usage rate. So we're 50 units plus the clubhouse. And so right now we're paying for 51 EUs. When we designed the project and set the meters, it was 8. So it was 8 EUs to serve the project and a 2-inch meter. There's no way we would ever come close to 51 EUs in terms of true usage. And so it's really impacted the overall, you know, operating cost and utilities. So we did a quick comparison just to kind of show what our concern is. If you look at the bar graph on the left-hand side, that would be a development that's inside of the town of Pagosa Springs with water coming from the district from PAWS, and then sanitary sewer coming from the town's facilities. The middle is obviously the city of Durango. If we were to build our same project or 50 units in Durango, what that would look like. And then on the right-hand side is our project, basically as it stands. If we were to assume, you know, 100,000 gallons per month, and then the base rates that we're paying. And that kind of goes back to that EU issue is we have this base rate of over $4,000 a month that we're incurring now, even though we're not using anything. I mean, our bill is 0 for water and sewer, but we're getting this pretty large bill. And, you know, it seems like in terms of and that's in line with what the policy is. But what we would ask is that we just be viewed as probably a commercial account. Just like we're a hotel or a restaurant, then we can look at the EUs that we're actually using, the impact that we have, and then the meter size, and then we pay for that usage. And that would resolve our issue here. And so that's our request today, is to be considered as a commercial account. And that's in line with what we see in other jurisdictions, you know, and even when we look at insurance and financing, we're a commercial user. You know, we received one bill, and that's really what we would like to have today.
So is this water and sewer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So
You put them together?
correct. Yeah. Yeah, and I have Travis Barber on the line, and he put this together. He can help with breaking that out if you like, and giving some.
I mean, I don't really see the issue.
Go ahead.
I don't really see the issue so much like on the water side. As in many things other than water loss. Because, you know, even if we were to, again, the whole commercial destination is one thing, but if you were to try and service 50 units with 8 EUs, you'd be getting 16,000 essentially. They're not free, but but embedded gallons. Whereas when you're assessed 50, you get 100,000 free, so you're not being charged $5.98 per thousand. It'd be very hard, I think, to run, even as efficient as it is, 50 units on 16,000 gallons. The difference, the 84,000 gallons you're getting for free are worth, between $6,000 and $7,000 a year. So that digs into that $14,000 number quite a bit. And also it protects you, if you only have 8 EUs, you're gonna hit penalty rates at 64,000 gallons, which for 50 units is a pretty low bar to start paying 12 and 15 per thousand. And if things don't change, and some point this year we hit, a tier 2, tier 3 drought, you'd be paying 25 or, nearly $30 per thousand. So I'm not so sure that when all is said and done, having 50 EUs is the worst thing to have on the water side. Especially consider that even though we don't treat you like a commercial enterprise, through the multifamily lens, we have probably the biggest multifamily density discount of anybody. I mean, Durango doesn't come close, where, you got 50 units in there for 80 EUs, and then we waive the 80 EUs. Even in Durango, you have 26 EUs, and in a lot of districts, they might discount your studios and 1 bedrooms at 0.7, but you'd still be in the high 30s EUs, EU-wise. So wastewater is just a problem because we have massive expenditures right now, and on the capital side of things, we're trying to, not make the same mistake twice, and we're actually trying to cover 10 years of projected Title 31 costs on the capital side of things. So my argument, we came to a compromise to give you the waivers that we gave you. My argument there was, listen, we really need to lower, or to the degree we can, eliminate the startup costs to get these units going. And to get, people into really decent, better than decent housing. But once they're in, everyone has to pay a monthly bill, or it doesn't pencil out for us. So that's kind of the compromise we came to. And so that's the one that I'm inclined to stick with. I recognize that the charges on the wastewater side of things are very KISS right now. They're very 1 dwelling unit, 1 EU, 1 monthly rate. That has a lot of virtues to it. It's not particularly fair, maybe when you're trying to develop studios or master studios or small 1 bedrooms, to say that we can honestly say that that's going to have the same BOD impact as a 5-bedroom home. So in the future, I could see the board moving to a different calculation, but that would be for everyone, not just for workforce housing. That would also be for high-end condominiums. I mean, it would just be because it's fair, and maybe, I see, and, to be honest, I think there were 2.5 members of the board that came your way on this because of that compromise, because it pencils out. We can give you density and workforce housing. I would say we've given you a $1.2 to $1.3 million break. On the other hand, over the next 10 years, if I kind of take the midpoint, your project will pay $750,000 in fees. And next decade, probably pay 1.2 million. And so I can make that case to people who are on the fence that, listen, and if I contrast it with if you built downtown, it would be a financial disaster for us. So I'm gonna stick with the compromise. It's not my preference, but I think it's a good, solid compromise.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I think, I mean, it is important enough when we initially submitted our letter of intent, I think we were in 2022. The estimated fees we were looking at were right around $300,000. And then between that time from submitting our letter of intent and going through, we had a capacity analysis put together. The fees, I believe, is the CIF fees, and I have Travis Barber on the line as well to clarify if needed. Those went up to like $1.3 million, and then when we got the waiver, we got back to 300,000. And so when we initially submitted our request for some sort of waiver, it was to come from 300,000 down, and we ended up paying 300,000. So I definitely appreciate the waiver, but the impact wasn't quite what we were hoping for. A second piece to this is when we look at these developments, we have no operating subsidy whatsoever. And so we basically spend all of our time putting together capital stacks. We get tax credits, Prop 123 funds, CDBG funds. We put money into the development, but that's all construction budget. So then we close and we have our permanent loan and we max out everything we can because we need those proceeds to build it. And so then we have our permanent loan. And these developments are very thin. I mean, we max out all those sources and we don't have an operating subsidy. So we're renting units for folks at 30% AMI, 40, 50, 60, and 70, and then 80. But we're not at the 80, 90, 120. And so, we can manage these very effectively. We can have on-site managers and porters and make them work. But whenever we have like insurance, go up by 20 or 30%, it really has an impact. And the utilities, I mean, it's a very high bill. We estimate this is probably 5 or 6 times what we would see somewhere else. And I appreciate, we want to pay our fair share. And maybe it'd be best for us to take, a month if we need to work with, the district engineer and go back and forth, because I'm not a civil engineer. When we start going into EUs and things like that, I pull in Travis because it's not my cup of tea. But I do think we could probably figure something out that's really in line with our usage and really what we're actually using at the property, because we do have like low flow fixtures and a lot of green amenities and things like that. And something that's fair, something we can work with and really have us just pay our fair share. But I think we're pretty high as it stands right now. And
Really want.
And Chris, could I add to that here? Sorry, can y'all hear me okay?
Travis, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I think, our main concerns that kind of caught us off guard with the billing, it's just the base rate. I don't think that what we are requesting is a change in how we're billed for usage, but there's a monthly base rate. And that base rate is shown in the chart that we put together. It's the color blue, and you can see it on the third bar chart. The $4,000 a month as a base rate for us just to have the meters available to serve the project. That's where we found, comparably to the city of Durango or the town of Pagosa Springs, just that base rate to operate is, 10 to 12 times higher. So I think what Chris was saying was, if we were considered a commercial development, our base rate would actually be almost in line with all these other districts as far as how they're billed, just to begin the base rate. The usage rates, from what we've researched in other districts, is very similar. I don't think we have any issues with paying the usage rates. It's just that starting baseline of $4,000 a month. That's very difficult for us to underwrite. And then, we have the option to pass it on, but it's a hard number for us to pass on to the tenants because it's an affordable housing deal. And whenever you break that out as a cost per unit, they're already starting at $80, $90, or $100 a month just in the base rates. I think the second point is, if you were to calculate our fixture units, our drainage fixture units, and apply those to other districts, we would be right around 8 EUs. So it all kind of goes back to that calculation and assumption that 1 EU per unit should be used for billing. where we would really benefit from being considered a commercial project. So that was my 2 cents there. Thank you.
Then we would have to like treat every apartment development similarly. We'd have to give me, and they're gonna come in and say, wait a second, there's a 50-unit development here. Now you gave them, I think, about $1.2 million of incentives that you didn't give us, but that's, I certainly support that public policy, but we should get that same commercial classification. And so that's gonna have to happen with all of the units, all of the condominium units, and so then we would have to turn around and increase all of the other customers who are not wealthy. We're not like an Eloy Morlock community here, not Telluride. By definition, we're at 100% AMI, right? So we would have to go to our whole constituency and say, who is at 100, and say, you're not only gonna see a 30 and a 10, you're gonna see a 30, a 10, and next year it's gonna be 25 because we have to reclassify all the condominiums as commercial. So, we've made this is a really effective, I'd have to dig into this a little bit more and break it out to Crested Butte and a lot of comparable mountain towns. But our policy, skin at the teeth, our policy is to make it easy to build the structures, and then everybody has to pay their bill, and then let's work to keep that bill as low as possible. So that's kind of been our policy. So
And I can definitely appreciate that, and I think it's a situation where it's great to have a board to look at the policy and say, does it make sense for the specific development? Because if we were building market rate, $100 a month for that resident isn't that big of a deal. But when we have units that are at 30%, 40%, 50% AMI, those units really don't even pay for themselves necessarily. I mean, it comes to once you staff it, once you're paying insurance, once you're paying all the overhead that you would have, plus make readies and things like that. Like, this really is a project that benefits the community. It's there are teachers that can't live here. They want to live here and they can't find a place to live. And there are folks who work at PAWS that they can't, it's hard to find a place. It's very expensive to live here. It's very expensive to build.
So can I share a couple of thoughts here? So this is the Chaffa rent limits. And 30% limit for a 1-bedroom apartment is $530. And I think you're paying $1,200 for a 1-bedroom if you're paying the market rate. 60% AMI is $1,000. So that's the kind of numbers that this company is working with. I like the idea that a LIHTC project that is limited legally what they can charge, they're not market rate. They're legally limited in what they can charge the customer, can be treated differently from the condominiums, the apartments that are market rate. So I'm very much in sympathy with the fix that these guys are in ongoing. Yeah, we did help them get started, but I don't think we have to treat them the same way that we treat an apartment or a condo building. So I might suggest that we have a subcommittee look at how this could be reasonably worked out.
Gene?
Regarding AMI and all of the stipulations you must adhere to because it's a low-income project. Next year, subsequent years, insurance goes up, other utilities go up. Are you allowed to adjust your rents so you're not losing money at 80%?
No, it's set and there's no.
For the life of the project?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so they do get sometimes these developments get very tight. Yes.
No, the rents do. I mean, there's an adjustment.
Correct.
For it.
Yes.
I mean, building on what Bill is saying. is like, you can even draw a distinction between a LIHTC project and the Chris Mountain project. That's a great project that is. The truth is, in Chris Mountain, income verification is real difficult at the beginning. You get in, you purchase your home, it goes away. You continue to get raises, right? You get married, you get a second income. That's fine, and you've gotten a home at 80%, but now your income has gone up over 4 years from 43,000 to 100,000 with two earners. That doesn't really work. So you are in a particular situation. So I'm open to really kind of, like I said, I can't. Right, public immediate math, I'm not great at. So, but I definitely would feel, willing to look at your predicament. Thank you.
Would, I hear a motion that we have a committee look at this? How do y'all want?
I would make a motion that we form a subcommittee to look at how LIHTC projects specifically can be treated fairly, in consideration of these fees.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it, I think, except to stipulate that I think we've been very fair to this point.
Yeah, yes, sir.
We have. Okay, any more discussion?
I would just be
I was gonna be on the subcommittee.
a little bit.
You, I think, you're the treasurer, so I think you would be on it.
Glenn, would you want to be on it?
I don't know if I'm the most competent person to be on it. But I'm fine if nobody else wants to be on
I would like to work with Alex on it.
Would you?
it. Okay.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Is that okay with you?
I like both of you, either one works.
Okay. Okay, these would be on two committee.
I'm just a little concerned about, setting that precedent, which you kind of touched on and,
Well, you would have to see if legally, you can make that distinction. And if you're not opening yourself up for, you can overblow in this area, your exposure to lawsuits, I think, but it might exist. And there are some big players, people who own 500 units that are paying 500 monthly service charges, who would behoove them to drop a lawsuit to see if the whole thing could be considered as a commercial. You have some advantage there in that some of them don't have the one building, which is really a fundamental, conceptually something you can hang your hat on, but anyway, it's up to you two.
Yes, I like, we got a good numbers guy right here, so maybe we'll get some assistance from him as well.
Would you be able to help with that, Aaron?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, then I have a motion to, we got the motion made. And we got the people, we want to do that. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimous.
Great, thank you very much.
You bet.
Appreciate it again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. You give me your phone number and
Yeah,
have a little bit of it. Absolutely. We'll try to chat. Just if I've got some additional questions. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Travis.
Travis, thank you. Okay. When you get back, we'll go with the next item on the agenda. With Tammy. He's not here. Well, you're all trying to get the neighbors.
She's your neighbor?
Pretty comfortable. The property's over down, it's down the road about 200 yards.
I mean, you gotta recuse yourself.
Yeah. No, but- Okay, consideration of request to waive availability of service fees for unconsolidation lot 815 Hurst Avenue.
So I think everybody's read the letter that she sent. I think everybody's also aware that we have availability fees if your property is within 100 feet of water and or sewer. That's the fee. In our rules and regulations, we have rules that if a lot is combined, two lots are combined, now they only pay one availability fee. However, the rules say if you uncombine them later on, you're gonna pay the back availability fees at our rates. And the reason for that is we don't want people consolidating rates, holding on the property for years, and then consolidating and saving all that money where everybody else is having to pay that. That's exactly what they're doing there, so that's why we have those rules in place,
So
and they're very clear.
I think my question would be, when was that rule put in place?
Well, before I got here, Renee, do you know when that rule was put in place?
I believe availability has been around since the late 80s, early 90s. I would have to look back to see when we started the back availability, but I believe that it's always been a component of the availability. It's been in place for a very long time.
So specifically, Renee, when did we start requiring you to pay the fees that you didn't pay? When did you start requiring that? I know availability's been around forever, but was there a time where people didn't? Like she said, it was 1990 or something that.
That's when they unconsolidated.
That's when they
the lot.
consolidated.
Yeah,
Before she bought it,
Right.
was that rule in place in 1990? Because she should be informed of that difficulty when she bought the property, but if that rule wasn't in place, then I would think about this differently.
I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to go and look at that, and we could table this to the next meeting. I'm off the cuff. I believe back availability has always been a part of the availability charges, but I would have to go confirm that.
I believe she's correct. Availability's been around for a long, long time. As far as when back payment of unpaid availabilities, oh, I know 15 or 20 years ago, I was in this room as an employee. And a gal came up asking the same question. And she had, certain circumstances. But for the same reason, I feel that we can't do this one is, again, it sets a precedent. And there's just, the rule is there and, and another thing, I believe there's a math error in her letter. She said she's probably gonna have to pay around $35,000, was it? No, 30,000.
The CIS, yeah.
I'm not good at math either, but according to my calculations, she would pay $17,215.99, and that's for a connection fee for the meter and the labor and the CIF. So I'm just not sure where that 30,000 came from, but I don't believe it's correct.
I mean,
Yes, go ahead.
we were thinking of this in terms of 2s and 3s, but this could happen in 20s and 40s, and and I know that the first meetings I was coming to, which was nearly 20 years ago, and this issue, people were at that time were asking to have forgiveness for these fees, because back then it was pretty rollicking too, the real estate market. So it's unless I'm wrong, it seems to me that right now we give a fairly discounted rate. If 30 years, if we assess 360 months, and perhaps she's not in both districts. But
Correct, she's only in
the water district. Okay, so that's fine. So it's not a discount rate, it's about, and that's just water.
So could I have a motion to deny this?
Yeah, no, I would move to, but I think it's really not unfair. I mean, it's that everybody who, and the other thing about availability fees is, having been on the board a long time, you want to be paying availability fees. Because if you are not paying availability fees, we've had, plenty of folks who've walked in, you have to pay for a mainline extension, and that can be $20, $30, $40, $80,000. And if you're paying this fee, which admittedly has gone up quite a bit, but for most of the tenure was $6 or $7 or $8 or $9, it was a bargain. So you're happy to have your property within a distance where we have to connect. We have to provide service. That's the trade-off. So I would move to deny the request for the waiver of back availability on 15. Courage Avenue.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and second. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bill?
No,
Hey, okay, I'm too close to the situation, so I'm not voting. The motion carries, denied. Okay, thank you all.
I think it's pretty clear, like, I mean, if that X stays along on the, and you have a consolidated lot. I mean, especially,
That's why it's called lot 29X.
right, especially if you're,
Right.
Whatever lot.
yeah.
Okay.
At least,
Consideration of running our range select committee update.
so we're hoping to, reach out to the subcommittee in the near future.
yeah, even this week, I don't know. I had suggested that maybe, first step is to actually take a look at the condition of the ranch.
Together.
Speaking for myself, I'm a ranch dummy, so I don't even mind noticing that. Maybe being led by, like, maybe one of the foremost ranch managers in the area to take us a look and just see what we're dealing with as far as
I'll go with you.
fences and ditches and invite San Juan
San
to
Juan,
be open
yes.
meeting, and, it could be an informal, friendlier joint session of sorts, but it could be just pick a day that's good weather, and we get out there and walk around and see what the status is. So maybe we could arrange that in the next 2 weeks. That would be the first step. If you're, I'm just
Yeah,
calling,
yeah,
I don't know if anybody else has managed all the ranch land for Fort Collins.
I'll do that, yeah.
Because we may see, like Justin has noticed, we may see fencing in such disrepair that the right way to go is, which would be far beyond the ability of someone running a few cattle. Actually, we may have to go to some direct professional ranch management to make sure that,
Right.
Yeah, that's what I don't.
Okay. Okay.
I'm better behaved when I'm walking around.
Is that vouch for that? I don't throw paper, I don't throw anything like that. Can definitely show us around. So we know where we are.
Yeah,
So we'll be in touch with Renee if it turns out that we want to notice that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I also give you, here is the bid to remove the house, and that's something you guys can also discuss.
Yes,
Surely, so
and while he's doing that,
that's just the little house.
that's just the little house, we haven't looked at the big house, and then
We're talking
that's the
about
bid
the,
to remove it, and that's what we've already.
where the scales were?
Asbestos.
No.
No, that's the house that looks like hell right off the road.
Yeah, the little house down where, probably was pretty sweet at one time, certainly
Apparently,
that.
some people still think it's sweet, because the problem is we're having people move into it.
Well, that's the problem, you get that problem with the big house too.
Candace, would you like a copy of that?
Sure, thank you, thank you, Jean. Yeah.
I'm in the contract now.
I would like to suggest maybe as a part of that meeting that we kind of get up to date on, are there proper insurances in place still to protect the district? For any activity that's happening there. And I know there's many more invoices, the La Plata Electric invoice and other invoices that the district has been solely paying by themselves for quite some time. So I think we need to kind of get everything caught up, maybe get a spreadsheet on what the costs have been. And because I think anyway, the agreement, pretty clearly states that who will pay for what and what percentage and all that, so I think it's a good idea to get caught up on everything.
Did
I
you
mean,
get that term spreadsheet, Aaron?
I could see that as kind of a separate subcommittee meeting, like for this, like when, probably not for like going out visiting the ranch, that's more of kind of the agricultural. Just because, I mean, things have to happen, a few things have to happen quickly, and fencing is one issue, but you know, I mean, the water's coming off the mountain, maybe more quickly than we wish, you know, so, I mean, certain things have to be tended to, so, and decisions made about, you know, the best way to handle it. Sure.
Yeah, my interest is just that it doesn't fall off the radar, we just
Yeah,
want to keep the conversation going.
Okay,
All right.
all right, we can move right along now. Discussion regarding memorandum of understanding with Archuleta County Office of Emergency Management for the firefighting purpose. Justin will be back in just a second. That is really important. Last week there was about 4 letters to the editor regarding that, and there were several stories in that Sun, I don't know.
I don't, I'm not gonna touch that one. I'm not gonna touch that one.
Well, the one thing that like jumps out. It's like, what do you feel about? Providing, very expensive, perhaps very necessary, military equipment worldwide. The absolute very.
You have to use your calculation.
Of aerial firefighting.
Justin, I can take a picture of my phone.
I don't.
You know, like, I don't know if things have changed, but we have like one part-time Canadair 415 in Colorado. I mean, the actual.
Colorado did just get a new fire, they got a fire.
Right,
But you're waiting on that for a year.
right, but you
You're right.
should have 30, you know what I mean? That's like.
At least a couple of them, I mean, I've always liked the idea of the firebox because, you know, you get guys coming out of the military, already know how to work on Black Hawk helicopters and can use a transition into this.
Right.
Job. Yeah, so it's standardized.
Okay, Justin.
I looked at it.
Did you want me to keep this? No.
No, that's for you.
This one's mine or no? Okay.
So we wanna make a motion on that,
We get your.
or that's operational?
For you guys to have your meeting with?
No.
The 18,000?
Well, that's, no, that's just for you guys to discuss with San Juan, how we want to move forward. with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. All right, the next one, Justin, we just,
Do you want us to make a decision about how bills like this are handled?
I think so. I think that'd be a good
Okay.
idea.
Um,
But I'm thinking, I think you should do that in joint with San Juan.
in a joint meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
When you guys discuss it with the, you know, how do we want to go forward?
Yeah.
okay.
Because that's gonna be fencing and water and dam.
Right.
and you've already got a list of stuff we've done for several years.
But let's keep this in, like,
Yeah.
you know, getting together, walk the property. Get it state what needs to be done.
And then a separate meeting.
Then you can find about the other stuff. So, because the others, this just has to be done.
Yeah.
However it's done.
Okay, Justin, you're up about the firefighting
Oh, the hydrants?
hydrants.
Okay, I met with the county, regarding the fire hydrants, and what PAWS is going to do is put together a schedule. And it's gonna be based on. Not a schedule on how we wanna start testing, how fire hydrants should be tested. We'll probably do it based on pressure zones, go down pressure zones. We've come up with a procedure on what we want. It's not gonna be the full AWWA standard, because it causes too much damage, it wastes too much water. It's gonna be a very simple test to open the hydrant up, let the water come out, probably till the sediment runs out, close that up, test the pressure and do it at that point. So we're gonna come up with that schedule. We're gonna come up with a procedure. We're also gonna come up with a training on that. And the sheriff's office is gonna provide the manpower to start doing that. probably in May, somewhere around there. You don't really want to do it while it's still freezing, because you don't want that water running on the road and causing ice problems. So that's kind of where we're at this point. And so we're in the process of building that schedule and that training program.
Sounds good.
I think that is an awesome solution for all of our repairs. Yeah, it's just
So
the right thing to do.
how many hydrants per year do we think we're gonna have?
We're gonna see, we have 1,140
Right.
hydrants. Be nice if we get at least 10% done a year, maybe 20. And again, it's gonna kind of depend on the manpower that the county can provide us.
Now, is there a list of hydrants that have been accessed in the last 5 years and which you could then put them at the bottom of the list?
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll, as we start going through there, and every year we do 5 or 6 just because of maintenance and even more than that, probably a couple of dozen that we do for various reasons, and we'll get those on the list, so you'll skip that one. Okay, we can. And as we do some this year, and even with our guys, if we have slow times, which we can hope we have some slow times, that's what we'll do with our guys to keep them busy, is they'll run out with these schedules and take on them as well.
Was there any discussion about having pause the county TLPOA fire district maybe contributing to just hiring a 5-month crew every year?
That wasn't discussed.
Okay, because that could be a very economical way to.
As long as they're trained, because you can cause a lot of damage. Sure. If it's done incorrectly.
But,
you know, be trained.
As they're, talking about this in February, March, or no, I guess December, we're in March now. The fire district did not seem particularly interested.
Nor was the town. The town was at these meetings as well.
The OPOA I did get some interest from them, but, Justin has taken a lead, it's killing it, so.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, we've talked with other subdivisions too, and they want to volunteer to do it. We gotta be somewhat selective, because like I said, you can't cause a lot of damage, but usually when it turns into actual work, the volunteers kind of disperse.
Or they tear up something, don't they?
Oh, it's very easy to do. I was on the hydrant crew when I was a teenager, so.
I can't tell you the number of leaks
I'm guilty.
had to repair because of water hammer.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Back in the day, the way it was done was, because I was in the hydrant crew, in 2011. And it was a game to see who could do the most hydrants in a day, and these were teenagers out there doing it. So I'm appreciating that we're putting together a training schedule and having a little bit of accountability and responsibility in how we do this going forward.
Okay, well, say a professional crew, adults.
Yeah.
Fully trained, a team, how many hydrants on average can they check in a day?
I mean, if you're gonna do it the proper way.
Well, we're not doing it the proper way.
The way you're saying it would take you 30 minutes to do a hydrant.
It'll probably still take 30 minutes.
So I mean, you could realistically get a dozen plus done in a day
Okay, so we're talking
with a
about,
2-person crew.
we're talking about 100 days to hit all of them.
Yeah, and I don't, the county, the sheriff's department is gonna use their firefighting, their wildland firefighters to do this. So
Let's see. what
this
we got.
certainly won't be their highest priority. So we gotta kind of see how much,
How they can do it,
if there's
yeah.
a fire, they're gonna go fight the fire, they're not gonna check hydrants, so we'll see how well it works.
Okay, sounds good.
I think you were also thinking, Justin, that MOU would have an understanding between the two entities that the county could use some of our lakes for firefighting purposes as well, and we would memorialize that within the same document or a different document.
It's the same document. We discussed that where they want to pull water, and really we're opening and pulling water, if they dip buckets into anything except for Hatcher, we want to avoid using Hatcher since that's our primary water source.
Good, I would include that.
But what about the half of Hatcher that we don't use?
That's the bottom half. It's hard to
Do we want to just prioritize that? Obviously, if you had some kind of suburban wildland fire. right by Hatcher, you,
Well, but if you're in a helicopter, going to Lake Pagosa or
Yeah.
Stevens doesn't take a whole lot.
Yeah.
More time, so I prefer, I mean, yeah, certainly if that's the only one left.
well, it's not gonna be the only one left, because if you, helicopters are what, 400 gallon? 300 gallon, this altitude, maybe 300 gallons,
On a
that's tough.
K-Max out, you might get 1,200.
You know what?
On a K-Max, you might get.
Yeah,
1,200.
on a typical. Yeah. So you probably have 5 million sorties of water in the area.
At least.
Yeah, if you include. Hard to get a guess as to, educated guess as how much water is in, Echo County. Yeah, and it runs out anywhere from 3,800 to 6,000, people say it's average.
But we don't have any rights to that water, right? That's somebody else's.
Well,
water.
let's say the Forest Service were fighting a fire,
Oh,
you know,
right.
they okay that.
Yeah.
Well, they'll take water out of a golf course pond if they want.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Yeah, I guess we're requesting they don't use Hatcher.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
If they.
Yeah. I mean,
We don't have anti-aircraft artillery here, so if the helicopter is all out, we could do.
Yeah. Well, if it gets to the point where we need to use Hatcher, we'll use Hatcher, but that's,
Okay, let's move right along here. Discussion regarding Nepal's current drought management plan. Justin?
I'm gonna, see if I can figure out how to make this work, that everybody can see this line.
That we've got a copy.
I've made some, I want to use mine because I've made a couple of changes.
If it was side here.
This one here.
Yep.
you get dictatorial control and at the tier 3, is that the change?
No, I didn't change the management plan, I just changed my presentation, clarify. Okay, Nate, can you see this? Can you see the presentation?
Yep. Thank you.
So Glenn had brought this up that maybe, we have a pretty light snowpack this year. Everybody's not aware, so he wanted me to bring up what our drought management plan is, since this was put in place several years ago before many of you were on the board, so I just want to kind of go over what this is. And so I'm just gonna look at that, what our trigger points are, what our drought stages are, what happens if people just ignore them. And then the surcharges that happen when we go into those different drought stages, and then I'll just do a little quick slide on where we're kind of at as of earlier this week. I don't think it's changed a whole lot since I did this. So our historical drought management plan. I am becoming more and more technically incompetent as the day goes by.
Is it?
The Zoom
Or
out of the way.
oh, there you go. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so anyway, historically, the way when I first got here, the way the drought management plan was it was based on how much water's in all the lakes, whether we can use it or not, how much is in the river and things such as that. But the problem with that is it wasn't a realistic use of it, because by the time we got down, it was low enough that it put us in the drought management plans. The drought was over.
Right.
It was September or October when we were starting to put the water back on, so it didn't really make a lot of sense. And so we totally revamped this back in 21, and what we did is we ended up getting a subcommittee on it, and Glenn was on the subcommittee. I don't remember everybody. Peter Hurley was on it, Josh Kurz was on it, Al Pfister was on it, and there was a couple other people.
Mary Jo.
Mary Jo, yeah. And we kind of came up with a kind of a tiered approach to get on the different drought stages. We kind of kept it the same as what the drought stages were, and what we're really looking for when we go into drought stages is to get people to quit watering their yard. We still want them to brush their teeth and have personal hygiene, but the big use of water during, that we see in the summertime, which is irrigation. So we want to curtail irrigation. So we really have two ways. We have multiple ways to go into drought, but we have what I'd call an early drought phase, or if we go in the summertime. And so one of the ways we can go into it early on is what we call our Snowtail water equivalency. So there's a Snowtail station up above. I don't know if everybody's aware of that the USDA maintains, and it keeps track of the snow and how much, and the snow water equivalency, how much water's in the snowpack. And so I looked back at a whole bunch, or the committee looked at about, decades of data on that and came up with when is the mean date that the water runs out, that the snow runs out, it runs out up there. And then we kind of worked our way backwards. So so many days before that, that'll put us in the stage 1. If it's even earlier than that, it might put us in the stage 2 or stage 3. So when the snowpack runs out, and another way is the call on 4 Mile Creek. So 4 Mile Creek is what diverts water to Hatcher, which is one of our main drinking water sources. And we are about 12th in line with who owns the water on that. So every year, I think the mean date there is, June 11th. They do a call on that administration, and we no longer have ability to use that water, and the lake level and the water level will start dropping. So again, we looked way back, what's that mean date, and then started looking backwards. So if it's called really early, and we can pull this up and I can show you exactly how we do it. If it's really early, we'd be in drought stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. So that's how we can go into a drought stage really early, and it's highly likely that we're probably going to hit that this year. One of these two things is probably going to happen. Almost certainly the snowpack is going to happen. I'll get into that here in a little bit. But then as we start going down and we get past those median dates, so let's say we didn't run out of water before the median date, and they didn't do a call before June 11th. We're not in any type of drought management stage, but something could still happen. We could still get very dry. So then we started looking at the amount of water in the Hatcher, since that is our primary water source. We also looked at the flow of the river, and we also looked at the drought stage that's the state puts us in. We have various drought stages, and again we looked at average levels for a particular day. What was the average level of water in Hatcher on July 4th, and what's the average flow on the San Juan River, and then what stage are we at? And we weighted them. Hatcher, the amount of water in Hatcher in our little equation that we came up with has 4 times more relevance in coming up with than the drought stage. And the San Juan River flow has twice as much as the drought stage. So the drought stage is important to us, but it's not as important as how much water is in the lake or the river.
Why is drought stage even in there?
We just thought it was important since if the state says we're in an extreme drought, we thought it was.
Wouldn't we know we're in extreme drought because of the other ones?
Yes, but that's what we came up with that. So that was what the committee came up with.
Well, that was the debate. Some people on the committee,
wanted that in there.
Wants to focus on the local conditions because the rest of the state can be fine. And a lot of the state right now is above median, and we're at 40% at Upper San Juan. And, but that was kind of a compromise, and I think everyone's kind of happy with. And plus, I think that the drought monitor is not simply just Wander Bluff state, it goes by.
It goes by region.
By region, so
it
is so it is relevant to us more than maybe I thought, Richard.
And then, so here's kind of what we want. So we have our drought stages that are voluntary all the way through level 4. And I should also mention that to go into level 1, 2, 3, or 4, or out of level 1, 2, 3, or 4, that requires board action. So and basically I set a spreadsheet and I can go in there and hit what the river level's at, what the Hatcher's at. And when it hits that trigger point, it comes out and says, oh, you gotta go to level 1 or level 2. We'd have to call a board meeting to do that. I'm allowed to put us in voluntary. Voluntary, not requiring anything. So we're hoping that when you're involuntary, it's really just public outreach and awareness, and we're hoping to reduce our water by 10%. I don't these kind of were on the previous one. I'm not sure how well that is. And then you can see the different rates. You go to level 1, irrigation is not allowed, during the middle of the day because you have so much evaporation during that. If you go to level 2, again, you can't do it in the middle of the day, and based on your address, you can only do it on odd or even days. And we're gonna start increasing our tiered rates. So if you use a lot of water, now instead of being expensive, it's gonna be expensive plus. And then you get into level 3, and it gets to where I think on that one there, you can only water 1 day a week, and then level 4 is your grass is gonna die. There's no outside irrigation.
Already is.
You know, I've got a question. I remember this, but I forgot. The golf course has got 300 acre feet of water they're allowed to. What if we get in a drought 4? Do they have to cut? their
They do
water off?
not, legally, they do not have to, that was the deal that was made back whenever it was made, that they can have 300, we will provide them 300. I don't even know what would happen if we couldn't physically provide them that, because we have to provide them that, I don't know what, I guess.
We were sued
I
at one
guess
time, that's why it's there.
That's why it's there, okay, so, yeah. So, in theory, everybody's grass could be dead, and the golf course could be as green as yours. Yeah.
Okay.
it's just-
And what about the lake perimeter, the agreements where people can use water out of the lakes?
We can stop them,
that.
yeah, and we would,
Right.
you're not allowed to have that sprinkler going, I don't care where the water comes from.
Right.
During the day with that.
Now, how are you gonna police that if we get to?
Well, that's the $1 million question. Here's what I can get into what happens. Thanks for giving it. So here's where we are. Here's really what you can have. There's really nothing. Voluntary is voluntary. So of course there's no requirements there. So if you're not meeting, if you're watering at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and we catch you, in theory, you'll get a written warning. And that's about it. You can start seeing it. And the second time you get a $100 fine, $250 fine, a $500 fine. How well that would work, I don't know. We're not really the water police. But in theory, that's what we could start finding people if we got into that.
You'd be surprised what neighbors would do.
The neighbors are calling us, but this is where it comes down to that. The real hope is that when this happens, your neighbors will guilt you into not watering more so than us charging you $100. But
Of course, we had that one guy, I remember him using 20,000 gallons of water a year. He said, I don't care what it costs me, I'm gonna do it.
yeah,
There was another guy-
we walked across this yard, it was like walking on jello, it was so wet.
But there,
There was another guy that constructed a pond, had tanker trucks fill it. And he watered all he wanted because he had the, financial capability to do so. And, we can't stop him, that's fine. His neighbors were probably mad, but,
I think though, overall, our community has done a pretty good job in the last 20 years of conserving
What'd you
water.
say?
So,
Yeah.
99%.
you're always gonna have your outliers.
Here's what the rate adjustments are. So you can see if you're in the, if we're in a tier 4 stage drought, you're gonna pay, 2 times the standard rate, or 4 times the standard rate, so. But it's gonna get expensive quick.
Embarrassed to ask this question because I was actually on this committee, but needs to be asked. Do we have a similar schedule for water sales? It should,
What do you mean for water sales?
for water
trucks?
trucks. I mean, it's the same. We're
Oh.
trying to consume.
Like the Buttercup
And the
station.
fill station.
Yeah, the fill stations and we really need to, once we get stage 3
Do we have that? I don't.
or
we
stage
do not,
4,
But we really should.
we should.
The multiplier should be the same.
So the multiplier, the cost would be multiplied.
Should go up for them as well. Although I will have to say, most people that haul water are that water's about 10 times as expensive, so they're pretty conservative anyway. I don't think a lot of people are hauling water in our water in their.
It's still being-
grass.
it's
It's
still
still
being-
being there just for,
it's still being-
yeah.
And that would.
And maybe that's why we didn't put it in there, especially, but yeah. Yeah, it'd be really hard to police in Aspen Springs if somebody's.
And you don't want to police in Aspen.
And I don't know if police master surprise, I don't think the police want the police in that shit.
Or make the motion.
Oh, and we do it a little bit different for commercial, and the reason that it was brought up to do a little bit different for commercials, because some commercial facilities really, if you're a car wash, you're having to use water, so you don't have quite the same, hit as residential.
Who's washing their car in the middle of a drought? I mean, really?
People that want to
My
clean
wife.
cars.
My wife.
This is maybe $2.
I think the concern was more for, hotels.
Even hotels.
Who can't control the actual
Yeah.
use of they try to, I think we had said they had to have low flow devices in order to.
Yeah.
Just get that somewhat of a discount.
Don't wash your sheets so often.
Right.
And they still can't, irrigate their strip of green grass out there and things such as that.
So if we're in a stage 4 drought, I would expect that like tourism would be significantly affected.
Yeah, so probably close the forest down.
You're right.
Yards, so. Here's where we are. So this is the data right off Stotel. This shows, this gray line is the average precipitation per date. So it would be up there. The red line is the median, snow water equivalency to date. And here's where we are. Here's where our precipitation is, and here's where our snow water equivalency is as of right now. So you can see we're
It's about half.
we're about 60% of what we typically are. I'm hoping that tonight and tomorrow it might pop up a little bit. And so you can see right here, so, early June is when you typically run out. I have a strong suspicion we're not gonna make it, because you can see when it starts warming up, how quickly that snow melts off. So if it starts melting off, it's gonna melt off pretty quick. And I can put it in. And if you want, I can pull the spreadsheet up and we can play with that, but that's really where it is.
Is your median dated? Don't they use nineties through 20?
The median date from there
I
is,
can't.
I think is from the, I think it started in 83, I believe, is where the Snowtel data goes back to. And this is the San Juan Snowtel station.
Okay, so you're not using the 30-year median.
Yeah, I'm using all the data we had that the Snowtel station had, and I use the San Juan, not the, so we have two stations up there. We get San Juan and we have the, Wolf Creek. I use San Juan because San Juan is calibrated monthly, where Wolf Creek is only calibrated once. And it really doesn't matter where we do it. We're sticking a yardstick in and we're just looking at that. As long as we look at the same thing every day, I think it's relative. That's all I got. That's kind of where we are.
That was nice, short, sweet.
We like that.
And so here,
So are we gonna update the management plan?
drought management
The
plan,
drought management plan?
to put a surcharge for
All in water.
all in water. We certainly could. That would be fairly simple.
I mean, is that what you wanted, was input on corrections? So I had a couple of questions. There's a call on 4 Mile Creek in June.
Hopefully.
Is there a call on West Fork?
We've never had one. We have pretty senior water rights. We probably won't get called.
Okay. So, good that we increased the size of that plant.
So one of the reasons I did the size we did is to use that entire 5 CFS.
Yeah.
Those are our only pre-compact water rights.
And that's 5 CFS is enough for the whole community, I think.
Yeah,
Pretty much serve the whole community.
close with it, so the next step after the new. Still has to be water in the river. So the next step, and we'll, since we just like to spend money, the next step, we'll put a pump station. We'll need to put a pump station in to get water from that facility up here. Right now, there's no means to get water from downtown to uptown. We can go the other way. We can get water from uptown to downtown, but we can't do it the other way. So that pump station.
We have the pipes, but we don't have the pump station.
We don't have the pipes. We're only there's about a 20-foot gap.
Right.
And so that pump station and pipe gap would be, where the
So right next to my shop there.
Right, yeah, what's that shopping center, that Horseshoe Shopping Center right there, where
I
Letterman
know,
used
you're
to
talking,
be.
yeah, with the Angela's Flowers. and
Yeah,
the
right there,
tattoo
that's
shop
where
and all
that, that's
yeah.
where that's at, that's what separates uptown from downtown is right there, it's.
And the ROI on that pump and piece of pipe, I think it'd be pretty high. Cause I mean,
Oh,
the production.
people would
the
love it if we got.
The production of a million gallons that the new snowball will cost, you're telling us.
Yeah, so you're saying.
It's probably gonna be about the same as Hatcher, by about 450 per million.
And if we just have to pull it out of the San Juan and pump it up to up here, it's,
It's 35 from the San Juan, it's about 6,000 from, if we pull up from Lake Forest.
right.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Makes a change.
Yeah.
Now, if we start pumping the water from. You have to add that $450 because we're gonna pump the water up here, which is the electricity cost, so you're gonna increase the cost of that water up here for that, but it gives us a lot of flexibility because it allows us. It's not only if we're in a drought, if a meteor hits Hatcher or something like that, I mean. Other things could happen, so it gives us a lot of flexibility.
You're still always on the dollar compared to San Juan.
And you're still you're still probably.
Well, if you're gonna update this to add the trucks, the water trucks, you might look at the population. Cause I think we're not at 15,000 in 2025. I think it's about 500 less than that. So we might just look at that.
Yeah, we can
Get that adjusted. Yeah, that was my questions.
Okay, anybody else? If not, thank you. All right, manager's talking point.
I sent you, the water loss report, it's still at 500 plus, it's still pretty high. Trying to find leaks, we get the, I think we're gonna see a lot of leaks here in the next month or so, because we had so many frozen meters. And we're starting to see that now, they're starting to thaw out, when a meter freezes and somebody lives there, they call right away and say, I have no water, what's going on, I find the meter, but there's a lot of homes that our people weren't there, meter froze. They never said anything, now the meter thaws, now that's a leak. And so we're tracking those down.
Could be kind of bad.
There's a lot, and we're gonna be fighting that for a while.
Is everybody aware of the outcome of the company that did all the satellite scan and what that cost?
Yeah, I was actually gonna show that, like, and it was letting me on their website, and I had it until tonight, because I'm losing my technical competence as the hours go by. We had we hired a company at the range of about 90,000, wasn't it? What did we pay for that satellite company?
This is more
70,000. They did a flyover, a couple weeks ago, and the technology they have, it shows, and I wish I could pull the thing up and show you guys. What it shows is wet spots. They can tell wet spots that have chlorine in it versus wet spots that don't have chlorine in it. So there's those wet spots with chlorine are presumably leaks. So we had that flyover and they found 134 hot spots. So places we can look. We're gonna do another flyover in another month to oversee that, to make sure there's just no false positives or false negatives. And then they bring a crew in and we'll pick spots and say, let's start sounding those. We'll focus in on that. And then we'll start digging them up and trying to fix them. And I'm interested to see how accurate it is. And if it's accurate, we'll probably continue to do this forever. If we have a lot of false positives, we probably won't spend the $70,000 again, but this is one technology that
That's great.
Was the 70K just for that flyover?
for 2 flyovers and their crews coming in.
Oh, wow.
And
Impressive.
Now, I was looking at the 2015 report in February, and it is strikingly almost identical to this report. It's a little depressing because we did for many years
Yeah, we had it
push it
down
down.
about half what it is.
Yeah, about 240, we were running around 240. The least depressing aspect is we've done it once. So it doesn't, it might not be an indication of just a gradual, slow decline of the system, though that, is always happening, so, but I think we need to develop a game plan to get back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're looking at, and I would,
250, 260.
I would expect it's gonna get worse before it gets better
Yeah.
because of these meter
Right.
issues. I think it's gonna get worse, then we'll start knocking it down again. And like I said, hopefully this flyover will start hitting some of those spots. And then again, we're getting ready to replace all those lines underneath the highway.
Right.
Those have been there for 60 years. I'd be shocked if none of those leak. So.
And that's gonna cost us $900,000, and then it is.
No,
One,
1.5 million.
How much?
1.5.
Nine. Why'd they go up so much for? I thought we was talking 900,000.
We had to use the CDOT contractors.
It was, so here's what happened. CDOT put it out to bid. So we put this under CDOT. We had an engineer, we gave it to CDOT to put it under their bid. It went out to bid and the cost came in and our share at that point was 900,000. And I don't know what CDOT's cost was at that point, but CDOT determined that that's too expensive, not just our part, but their part as well. So they rebid it. And then the next low bid was, after the second time, was even higher. So they decided they probably shouldn't keep putting it off. And so like rebidding it, it cost us $600,000, yes. And I don't know what it cost them. I mean, the overall project cost, I think, is 37 million.
Yeah, so.
You can get a water plant for that.
Almost, not quite.
You can slow traffic by just handing out tickets.
Yeah. That was.
Del Norte's been doing it for 3 decades. Nobody speeds through Del Norte. Anyway. So we have excluded certain things, right? It's the customer meter registration does not seem to be the issue, right? Those tests have come back there.
Yeah, at first it was looking very promising at first, and then it petered out pretty quickly.
Okay, and the output registration from the plants, there had been issues, but those are pretty solid.
We checked those today.
We actually checked those today.
What we used to do, they used to put a scope down in some of those pipes to see if that's leaking.
We do that for sewer, but not for
Yeah.
water.
Okay. That was just.
Yeah.
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 Okay, and,
All right. What else you got? Renee, how you doing?
Renee, what am I forgetting?
what about backwash? I mean, this isn't the backwash.
Yeah, so
I didn't see it on the sheet, but maybe it's embedded in one of the numbers.
the backwash you don't see because that's done before. So how we look at water loss is when water leaves the plant, we have a meter outside the plant.
Okay.
And so everything that goes out, then we look at what we sell. And the difference is with that, then we can pay attention to, we have to flush hydrants, stuff like that. We jot that down in there, a little table in there. You'll see where we put all those things in there. The backwash water is backwash before it goes out that meter. So it's kind of taking care of itself internally.
Okay. Renee, if you got anything you'd like to say?
I do. I guess first I just want to give the board the opportunity. Maybe I'll review how we got to the revenue bond issuance. Just kind of recap last summer, because has been some confusion, and understandably so. So if I may, I'll just kind of recap the timeline. We were planning to use the state revolving fund that we had used, the program, loan program that we used for Snowball. And we were going to try to use that program again. It's the best money going. It has some of the best terms for the Vista wastewater treatment plant upgrades. And we had submitted the preliminary needs assessment. We just to get through all the jargon, we basically submitted all the preliminary paperwork early last year, and things were going great. That program was well funded up until the end of 2023, and some congressional appropriations basically gutted that fund. But we were moving all along, just like, we're going to get this money. This is what's going to happen. Working with our representative there, who's been amazing, at SRF, Eric Worker, and we submitted the P&A. All the preliminary stuff was approved May 1st. We were supposed to, our application was supposed to move forward in June of last year. And by about, I don't know, the third week in June, Aaron and I and Justin were like, we haven't heard from Eric. Wonder what's going on. Maybe we should touch base, make sure he doesn't need anything from us. So we set up a call, and he says, oh no, you couldn't apply because CDPHE hasn't approved your 60% design yet. And by the way, the program just got gutted, and things are looking really bleak for the program and for all the projects around the state that were counting on it, which we greatly appreciated, that candidness from him, because we just didn't have the luxury of time for Vista. We have to get it done per the state requirements. I'm still filling out and having meetings, progress reports. Where are you? What's happening? What progress did you make this month? Monthly progress reports and meetings with the state, just so they're keeping tabs, making sure this is getting done. And so obviously panic set in. And because SRF funding is most likely not going to be available to pause, because we won't qualify as a disadvantaged community. And because their funding was slashed so significantly, they were going to have to prioritize all the disadvantaged community projects. Understandably so, right? So I'm arguing to Eric, but I serve a disadvantaged community. They're a bulk customer of mine, and so I think some of you have heard this, but maybe not all. But I asked Eric, can you gather up all the finance heads of every financing agency in the state and get a Zoom call scheduled for me, because I need to know what my options are. And he did. It was really amazing. Although I think I had really great arguments that day when we met with everyone in the middle of July. They all kind of looked at me like, sorry, you're just going to have to figure out something else. And, maybe try EPA and the WIFIA program. Look at issuing revenue bonds. Can you do that? And I just sunk. I just couldn't believe that we weren't going to get credit for treating a disadvantaged community's wastewater as a bulk customer. They since have developed their criteria and given a little bit of credit to those who do, but we're still not competitive enough to have, in all likelihood, been approved. And we wouldn't have been able to apply until this January cycle, and then that wouldn't get approved. And then Vista wouldn't be completed in the timeline that we're establishing now, in accordance with the state's requirements. So I was really thankful that everybody rallied around us and tried to help us. So unfortunately, it wasn't able to work with the SRF. So Aaron and I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out what our options were. And I took on EPA, and Aaron took on contacting bond counsel and looking at the revenue bond landscape, right? So by the time, I had the meeting with everybody around the state, middle of July. By the time we got to about the middle of August, we kind of figured out what our options were going to look like. So EPA has a similar funding program as SRF. They do relatively good terms, like percentage rates, and really the timing, you can really stretch it out quite a bit. in terms of the repayment, but their fees are considerable. They're probably, it's $10,000 to $25,000, depending on the size of the loan, per year of the life of the loan. So that kind of made that money really expensive for a 35-year term at $10,000 a year, especially compared to the revenue bond folks and their fees and what those actual terms and the percentage rates were going to be. Plus EPA, what really made EPA not feasible is the application timeline is not guaranteed. And like SRF is somewhat guaranteed, or at least they operate really efficiently. EPA's timeline is not certain. Once it gets into finance, it really slows down. That's what I heard from both EPA and Bond Council said the same thing. But and it takes, they said anywhere from a year to 18 months. Obviously, we didn't have a year from August to start that process to 18 months. So we started at the 8/29/24 meeting. We presented all of this to the board, and the board at that time said that they would like for us to look at, keep all of our options open, which we did, but to start looking at the revenue bonds more seriously than the others. If SRF was really not going to work out, just keep rolling 3 parallel paths, which is what we did. The revenue bonds were moving pretty quickly, which we were really thankful for, and the terms were looking good. Our rating came in really well, so we were really happy with that. So then we discussed it again with the board on 9/12/2024. We had to adopt some resolutions, all of which we could have backed away from if the revenue bonds weren't looking good and gone back to the state and said, we just lost all our funding, we got to go to EPA, we need an extension. They probably would have said, okay, well, you're going to just have to put that in your terms when you negotiate all your fines. But okay. And so, I mean, there's only so much they can do, but so we were just trying to run up against the timeline and the terms and how much ultimately the loan is going to cost the district. We moved forward again on 10/24/24 with the Bond Council agreement as things started to look better. Mostly, I think that was right around when the rating came in on Halloween. So it's right about then, but we got a preliminary rating of A, I think at that time, and then it went up a little bit. Right, Aaron? Is the preliminary? Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's when we were thinking, okay, these are going to be good terms. We should still move forward with the revenue bond. So all the while, just please know that we were running the parallel paths. So we had plan A, B, and C. And then we moved forward, and it was looking like about the middle of November, we were going to go to the market, and then it looked a little bumpy following the election. So we pushed it out until the first week of December. And then it ended up being pretty favorable for us. That was a really good atmosphere for us to take our bonds to market in. And then we reviewed again with the board the progress on the revenue bonds on 12/12/24. So I just wanted to provide kind of an overview. I know that there was some confusion as to why we ended up with revenue bonds, and that is basically how we got there.
There's also a couple of benefits to the revenue bond. We're not required to meet AIS, American Iron and Steel, or BABA. And so there's some significant savings there. American Iron and Steel we're doing that with the Snowball plant. We were actually able to get out of BABA. Well, BABA is Buy American, Build America. We were able to get out of that because they kind of grandfathered us in place when it was put in place just as we were getting ready to start building. So we were able to
Well, the rating came you guys got a rate that was much lower than the top side we had approved, so.
Yeah, I think so. But there's definitely some benefits to it.
Those-
Direction that we went.
Those, some of the equipment that are in the, would be in the plant would have to come from overseas, they just don't make it here.
Yeah.
So.
Which means you have to get you have to go for waivers, it's just very difficult. And what I've seen with others projects that are stuck under BABA right now, it's a real hassle to get those. And that delays everything, right? Because now while you're negotiating with the government, you get that waiver, for instance, the plant, the snowball plant, a lot of that stuff's coming from Australia and Japan, that's where it's made. There's not, and they don't make it here, and so it becomes very
Yeah.
difficult, so,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's where it is right now, so.
Are any grants available for us for the CDOT project, or again, we just kind of too high in AMI to actually, I would hope the town would be like getting some DOLA funds or something to help them with their wastewater line replacement, which must have gone sky high too.
Yeah, we
Okay.
looked at that. We spent the better part of December, January, and finally the beginning of February. DOLA just finally told us, you're really not going to be able to get the CBDG grant because you don't control the timing of your project. CDOT does, and CDOT would likely start, and you can't start any phase of that, any part of that project. You can't phase it out, and you can't start any aspect of that project before you're executed. That's kind of a really hard and fast DOLA rule. Although the EIAF program that I've been successful with at DOLA allows you to phase, and that's where we've been able to be successful. So the CBDG, I think that acronym is correct. It's the Community Block Grant, CBD, yeah. And so we were hoping to get about $600,000 from that one. And the town and I were going to work together on that, and they were going to share that grant money with the district in exchange for my writing the grant for them. And they would be the applicant and we would be a co-applicant. And so them being the primary applicant qualified us, but since nobody's now can do it, it's unfortunate. But there's some other grant funding that they're looking at. I haven't looked that the only grant available right now is for us is that DOLA EIF program, and that's a really great segue into the hearing that we did last week, if there aren't any other questions. But I'm happy to keep looking at grant opportunities for the CDOT project. If anyone hears of anything, please let me know.
The town apparently is discussing a town-only sales tax to help pay for their sewer repairs needed under the new highway.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't impose sales taxes.
It's for everything.
Yeah.
It's for $40 million worth of repairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the DOLA hearing, I thought went really well. I'm going to hand it off to Gene here in a minute because he did a really great job and he went up there with us, and it's a long haul. I brought Justin, so of course Justin did a phenomenal job, and I held my own as manager of presentation, and Gene did a really good job at looking pretty. So I'll just hand it off to you, Gene. What do you think?
Let's get honest, they took me along as a human support person. I can't tell you how proud we ought to be of these two. The presentation they made was epic. And so much so that at the end of our presentation, one of the board members raised his hand and asked Justin if he could plagiarize his presentation. Many of the other people were asked several questions by that board. I think maybe only one question for us, so we should have an answer on the $1 million grant request. I'm guessing in about a week, maybe two, and I have high hopes that because of these two presentations, we're gonna hopefully be favorably considered.
Great, great.
Great job.
Good. Congratulations, people.
I do have a couple of other items, you don't have questions on that, snowball, it reminds me of snowball, we're building a snowball plant. I'll get you an update on that. You get a chance, come out, it looks like a plant now, you know, pipes everywhere and pumps everywhere, all the Paul equipment started arriving Monday. And so that's being installed, that's the actual filters.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And all that's going in, as we're speaking today, they were putting in the soffit and fascia, and as soon as that's in, next week they'll start putting the roof on, and that'll all be done. And so it's really coming along. We started having startup meetings. Startup will start in May right now.
Really?
It's a long process. So startup means we'll start putting power to certain things. They'll start programming, start running water through certain things. I mean, it's still on schedule to be done December. I still think that's a little wishful thinking, but we can be wishful on that. So it's moving along
Right.
really well. The Vista plant, we were hoping to get started on that next week, but we never got our approval from CDPHE. So that's been pushed back a week. They've been telling us for a couple of weeks it's imminent, it's there. They really had no questions on the design, so it's just somebody signing, you know, a signature. So hopefully it'll start the week after next, since it's not starting on Monday.
Who's the contractor there?
Moles. So we want to get that one going. That's all I got.
I drove by it, kind of walked around last week and remarkably different from when I joined.
It's moving right along.
You look at it, you look at the old one, you wonder how we got
Yeah.
down to that.
Well, I know if you guys went through there when the building was first put up and there was nothing in there, it just looked like this vast cavern. It was huge. It doesn't look very big anymore when you get in there. It's full.
Okay, anybody else got anything else they want to talk about?
I do.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say that DOLA is really excited about the snowball plant. They're still talking about it. And they may have like a full tour come down where they bring everybody. They may make that in conjunction with one of these hearing events that they have. And like fall of 2026, our regional manager was thinking he was going to bring everybody to Pagosa.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be a good idea for us to take Candace up on her offer to have a joint work session. This is probably overdue. One question for you, Candace. Early on, you'd said that you had made a motion to your board to do something and it failed. Is that correct?
Not about having a joint meeting.
No, what was it about is my question, I guess. What motion failed?
I'm sorry, I'm not, it was something I said earlier today. 'Cause I
At
didn't
the
say
very
anything about it.
beginning of this meeting, and my hearing aids don't work well. but
Oh, no, I
You
said
said,
we hadn't gotten a response back. I wanted to make you aware that I had emailed about both the joint work session of the boards, that the board had passed, our board had passed that to extend that invitation. And I had not had a response on that or on the Running Ranch, but I didn't say anything about a motion failing.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, in any case, my understanding is that Mr. Zipper has offered to give a presentation. And I think this would be a good opportunity for him to present whatever his plan may or may not be to both boards. And I'd like to take you up on that, I'd like our board to take you up on your suggestion. At a date and time that, works for everybody.
That'd be great. We had extended the invitation, so yeah, we need to compare calendars. I know it's spring, people start disappearing for various reasons, but yeah, absolutely.
Would your board be reluctant to hearing a presentation?
Well, that was,
Someone
so
that-
what we had suggested was that there be some discussion of the agenda. we were not, if you're referring to a motion that failed, I didn't say anything about it today, but our board, did decline to have a meeting. I think they think that they're gonna come in and negotiate with us, and we are not in a position, for all kinds of reasons, to negotiate with them. So,
I would strongly suggest that the agenda for this meeting is to hear his presentation, period. Negotiations, talks could happen later, I would think. But, you know, there's so much stuff going around in the community that this and I'm just personally interested in what he has to say.
my
And the
board has-
meeting and then.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. The board is meeting on Monday, so I will certainly, extend that, suggestion to them as well. I'll bring that to the board, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good deal. All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Renee.
Bill and
Thank you,
Julie,
everybody.
Got stuff to sign
stuff to sign.
before I run away?